Welcome to the Empowered Life podcast with Dustin Vaughn Warncke. Join Dustin as your guide to learning about unlocking your life's ultimate potential. Through inspiring conversations with special guests and proven wisdom, Dustin explores the interconnected values of personal growth, professional success, and a wholesome life filled with love and light. This show is based on tactical and practical concepts for life's greatest successes and achieving your goals, while also being full of inspiration to help you live your best life right now. Discover how to cultivate a mindset of empowerment, achieve success, and create a meaningful impact on the world around you, all while living with purpose, meaning, and significance. Dustin is a former associate publisher of Texas Fish and Game magazine, the author of over 10 books, owner of his own digital marketing agency, an outdoor TV show host, a video and podcast producer. And he will also become one of your best friends forever. Now, get ready to get inspired to live in gratitude. Here's your host, Dustin Vaughn Warncke.
What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy Dustin Vaughn Warncke here with some Dustin's motivational moments. And driving right now from the country to the city to go pick up my son and take him to school this morning to make sure he gets there safely and on time. And just thought I would pick up the phone. It's just me and my cell phone right now, and record a show. Or at least record a segment for the show. So the one thing I wanted to talk about today, it's still dark. It's in the morning. I'm up early. I'm up earlier than I normally get up. I'm a night owl of sorts. I do my best thinking at night. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that I do. As we progress in this journey together through this podcast, I think that it's important to realize that the world is organized in such a way, and this certainly wasn't my idea or design. I just showed up here back in 1979 when I was born. We're always going to have problems, right? We're always going to have issues. They could be health issues, they could be career issues, it could be work issues. If you're an employee, there could be family issues, could be relationship issues, romantically or friendship or otherwise. There's a number of issues we're going to have in our life. The thing is, your problems never go away, right? I mean, they just upgrade or downgrade or, morph into different problems, right? You're never going to have a problem-free life. And that's what I think a lot of us kind of secretly hope for, is that, oh my gosh, if I get past this point, I'll be happy. Or, if I get past this point in my life, I will not have any problems and be worry-free. That's not going to happen, all right? Embrace the fact that life is going to be full of problems. Don't embrace negativity, but embrace that with the resolve that you are going to take the bull by the horns, so to speak, in life, and face your problems head on. And I write about this in my latest 2 books especially, but in my previous books I do as well. And I love the fact that it's a challenge, and I thrive on challenge. That's one of my personal things that's different from me and a lot of other guys, a lot of other people, not necessarily just guys, is that I thrive on challenge. I don't let things get me down. So the other day I got restricted on Facebook, for listing some hunts for sale. It's one of the things that I do in marketing, is market hunts for a hunting ranch, very low cost hunting ranch that has low day fees and low hunt fees in Lano, Texas, Hill Country, one of the deer capitals of the world. And I share in a lot of groups. I'm well known for sharing this podcast in groups and all that kind of stuff on Facebook. Well, Facebook's algorithm, their actual AI algorithm, restricted me immediately after a couple of other warnings from their algorithm. And, I'm just sitting there going, I didn't do anything wrong. It was a picture of a wild feral hog, eating at a feeder, and they considered it nudity or sexual content. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that picture of this pig eating at this feeder, or eating corn in this photo, in this game cam photo. That's all that was there. And, but Facebook restricted me for a few days and whatever. And so I kind of made a post about it, kind of angry at the time. And it was kind of righteous anger. It wasn't anything like crazy. So at the same time, I I kind of said, it's something I learned from Jim Rohn years ago. And if you watch any of my videos regarding, the new normals talk that I give, and I'm going to probably make that into a whole new episode, is to have my best new normal recording devotion that I do for Crosswater Outfitters as a show. Because I talk a lot to the soldiers of Fort Cavazos, formerly named Fort Hood, here in Central Texas where I live. And basically these are soldiers that are exiting the military, and they basically, have a whole lot of transitions in their life, and I call them new normals. They're not necessarily, they're just a new set of problems, a new set of challenges, a new set of obstacles to overcome, those kind of things, right? And I say in all that, life is designed to have its challenges so we can grow, right? It's kind of like when a butterfly, and I write about this in one of my books, butterflies, have to build the bloodstreams into their wings as they struggle to get out of the cocoon, but to become a beautiful butterfly, they have to embrace the struggle, or they cannot get out of the cocoon to be able to fly, to be able to emerge as a beautiful creature from, a not so beautiful creature, in the cocoon. And they develop, they grow, but they have to fight to get out. And that's the thing we miss a lot of times, especially in the walk of following Jesus, or whatever you believe as far as, religion or whatever like that goes, is the fact that you're always going to, Jesus, was very, Yeshua, as I refer to him, this Jewish name, talked about the poor always being among us. And, it also, think that it should be said that, or should have been said in biblical times, that the problems are always going to be among us. And it does say in other areas of the Bible, one particular verse, that the rain falls on all of us. That's a very famous verse. There's nobody that is completely void of problems, right? That's just part of life. And when you embrace that part of life and realize that you're always going to have issues to deal with and wake up to, fires to put out, so to speak, it's not so bad, because we all deal with those things. The rain falls on all of us. It's okay. No big deal. You have to overcome. And that's something I'm trying to teach some of the people in my life, some of my clients, my son, those kind of things, where basically, you fight through it. You don't give up. You don't retreat. You fight. And I don't mean like fight, I just mean like a righteous, overcoming the obstacle, overcoming the struggle. Okay. I don't mean like, every day is a struggle, because a lot of people live life like that. I've got one client especially that is an atheist, has no faith belief system, and is very negative all the time about everything. And she wonders why her life is the way that it is, because she's attracting the negativity. You get what you give in this life, okay? The fact that you have the issues, how you overcome the issues, is the most important part. And in the faith walk that I follow of the I Am discourses and Saint Germain, which is a little bit more, new age than a lot of people like, that a lot of people are familiar with. But, Saint Germain is recorded as saying in his revelation that basically, you're only licked, you're only beat, you're only defeated when you think you are, when you say you are. That's when the world wins. We're not going to let the world win. Okay? You are protected by the divine. Okay, God in action. Okay, as we call it in the Saint Germain faith walk, the mighty I Am presence. In mainstream Christianity, we would call that the Holy Spirit, which is God inside of you, God in action inside of you. And again, I never try to make this show religious, because again, as I said before, I think on this show, I said in my books, Jesus himself made fun of the Pharisees and poked fun of at the different religious leaders of his time. That basically was saying it's all about love. And God doesn't have a religion, by the way. All All right, and people can argue with me all the time. Oh, LDS. A lot of Mormons don't like when I say, Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. I don't like when I use the word Mormon anymore because of the stigmatism that gets on that, and that's developed over the years. But people of the LDS faith, Latter-day Saints, that we used to call Mormons back in the day, they have a whole, thing that, and Joseph Smith that started that movement, believed that was the right way. I'm not saying that there is any right or wrong way. God's religion is love, if God had a religion. God is literally made up of love. And you can't defeat that. Love is the most powerful, light-filled power in the universe. And you're not going to, slow me down from loving any less because of what happens to me. Because it's not what happens to you. It's how you handle what happens to you. It's how you respond. Not react. It's how you respond to what happens. Reacting is like knee-jerk, woe is me, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It's kind of that knee-jerk reaction. And really what I like to do when as one of my managers said in the past, when a grenade goes off in my shorts, when a customer, like happened this week, had a customer completely for lack of better words, throw up on me, basically say, lose her boundaries with me. And, she basically was like, just, why I called you 3 times in a row and this, that, and the other, and was very upset and everything like that. And, I had an emergency I was in the middle of handling, although I said I would call her at a specific time. Something came up. Something always seems to come up sometimes when I'm dealing with her. And I try to make as much time as I can for her, but at the same time, she's very demanding, and she does not respect my boundaries. So as a client, I finally had enough the other day. And I finally said, I think you need to I haven't fired very many clients in my business, but it does happen sometimes. There's one association that I had to let go years ago because we just were not seeing eye to eye. They were not respecting my ability. They were not, getting out there and doing, as far as advocating for their own needs and telling me what they wanted. And the relationship just wasn't working. And I've had other relationships like that too, where I have offered to just humbly bow to the situation in respect and reverence, right? Kind of like you would see in Eastern religions where they, bow, as far as a sign of respect. And other cultures such as Japan, you go to Japan, you bow to each other, and I just respectfully, gracefully offer an exit for myself, in a situation like that, because I'm not going to be tied to a situation that's going to weigh me down in negativity. That's just not going to happen, right? Not on my watch. And so I would slow down and basically say, look, this probably isn't a best fit for each other, and that's what I did with this client the other day. I said, I think you probably need to find somebody else to do the work for you because I am not meeting your expectations because of my schedule. Every single time you need something, I can't get 20 text messages about it. She freaks out. She has no emotional regulation. She has no emotional regulation of a 5-year-old, needs something immediately, and that's just not the way I work. I don't respond well to that as a business owner and as really a servant leader in my work. My employees all respect me. The people that I hire part-time, whatever, they basically, have this respect of me and the fact that, I am good at what I do. I'm a full stack one-man show, full stack marketing agency. I am going to make things happen to the best of my ability, but I'm just one person, I only have so much bandwidth just like anybody else does, and so I told her the other day, I said, I think it may be better for you to find somebody else to do this if you have these demands and, need them addressed immediately. I said, I'm not always available immediately. I've got a lot of other clients that I've got to service, a lot of work that's backing up because I'm dropping everything to take care of your stuff. And because it's always an emergency, your hair's on fire every day. And she changed her tone real quick after that, and this is kind of like a medley of podcasts right here. People will, two things. All right. People will respect you when you set boundaries with them when they have something called the fear of loss. When the fact that you offer to walk away in a situation if they are mistreating you or abusing you emotionally or something like that, and if they let you walk away, then, you've got your way out if you're in a situation like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if it's hurting you emotionally, if it is damaging you, from the other work you're doing for other people, it's sometimes better to let those situations go. Not everything is meant to be forever, okay? Especially in business. So, I mean, that's just kind of the way things are. And the other thing is that I don't tell a lot of people about my problems. I know sometimes I talk about some issues on this podcast and that kind of stuff, but it's mainly the story of how I'm overcoming it. So one thing that is said, Sam Crowley, one of the guys I follow for years and years and years about entrepreneurship and business and life and that kind of stuff, is that 90%, I think Les Brown once said this, I don't know where this originally came from, but 90% of the world does not care about your problems. And the other 10% are glad that you have them. They're glad that it's you, and glad that they don't have them. That's just the harsh truth. Okay, you may think telling somebody that's kind of an acquaintance or halfway a friend or whatever, is validating your problems and that kind of stuff, but that's not going to solve anything. Tell your problems to your therapist. Tell your problems to your psychiatrist or your doctor or your counselor or whatever the case may be, a professional. Don't, and maybe your close friends and family and that kind of stuff that you trust that are not going to judge you and not going to, to wish ill on you, because most people have problems of their own, In fact, we all have problems of our own and other things to deal with. They're not going to empathize or take control of them like you are, okay? You have to advocate for your own solutions, okay? That's just the way. It's about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and moving forward, okay? And, that's the thing I've always taught, I've always believed, and it's developed in me with the struggles that I've gone through. Some extreme struggles, okay? Some struggles that most people probably wouldn't have survived, and I will tell you more about that in future shows. But, most people, a lot of times, I think, probably, would have given up with some of the stuff that I did, just kind of reclused in a hole and not done anything to advocate for them. But I'm a fighter, okay? And I learned one thing, and I took boxing lessons a while back, I guess back a few years ago, when the gym that I love, still my favorite gym, I used to always go to, offered me these boxing lessons in trade for some website work that I was doing for them. And, it was a great time. I had a great boxing coach. He had a crooked nose. That's kind of always my joke with a boxing coach. He had a crooked nose, and, he had been hit in the face. And like Mike Tyson, would say, who recently fought when I recorded this podcast, recently got back in the ring after a long time hiatus of retirement, he famously said way back in the day, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And life will punch you in the face. I hate to say it. It's just is what it is. There is a movie out there, and I will not mention the name of it. If you want to, you can email me or text me if you want to watch it. But it's about a guy that kind of like emulates, a giant company, kind of like we would know in modern day as like a Google or an Amazon. And he owns a huge estate and a huge, flies a house, has a guest flowing in a helicopter over there and everything like that. And, he spills a glass of wine at dinner on his, or I think his assistant or whatever, spills a glass of wine on his pants. And, he basically says, and I won't repeat exactly what he says, but basically, no matter how much money you have, you can't insulate yourself from problems, right? It's true. You can't insulate yourself from what the world's going to throw at you. The world's going to throw a bunch of curveballs at you, okay? You've got to be strong and resilient enough to fight through those, okay? To overcome the adversity. And you know what, friends? We eat adversity for breakfast over here on this podcast, okay? We have been through some hard times together, all of us here, and we overcome, okay? We are overcomers on this show, all right? And I want you to have that resolve today whenever you're listening to this show to be that person that overcomes, okay? The problems are always going to be there. How you handle them is the test, okay? And if all of life is a test of sorts in a growth process, embrace that process. I'm writing about in my new book that'll be out hopefully soon. I've got a few other book projects for other people I'm working on first. But basically, it's called Hope Deferred. I'm sorry, not Hope Deferred. That's a Bible verse I'll get to in a minute from Proverbs. Hope endures, and grace will carry you. The Bible famously says King Solomon, who wrote Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, which was King David's son, in the Bible. And it's a great business book. Proverbs has I think 31 chapters in it, or verses in it. Not verses, you know what I'm saying, chapters in it. And basically, is a great business book. You read a chapter of Proverbs every day, and just go through that as part of learning business or whatever you do in life. It's just a great book about the wise do this, the foolish do this, that kind of stuff, And but basically, in Hope Deferred and Grace Will Carry You, I talk a lot about the fact that we overcome the adversity. We will always have problems, and the fact that, we're never alone. You're never alone, and when you realize that you're never alone and that you have a divine presence protecting you and a divine presence that's going to watch over you, and you take care of yourself and you love yourself first, okay? That's the thing I deal with a lot of people that I do coaching with is they've lost belief in themselves. They've lost love for themselves. And we don't necessarily know when or why that happens, but we have to love ourselves first. And there's a client of mine who's also kind of a spiritual advisor named Frances Pullen. And I'll probably put her book in the description, but she has a book on Amazon called Loving the Me in Me. Loving the Me in Me. And it's all about loving self. It's all about loving yourself. And once you love yourself, once you realize that, problems are always going to be among us, the rain falls on all of us, everything that I talked about on this segment, you realize that you have to love yourself first before you can love anybody else or anybody else can love you. And just think about the fact that God loves you immeasurably more than that. All right? You are never alone. Don't let this world beat you up. Don't let your problems win. You are a champion, my friend. You have the ability to overcome everything that life throws at you. There's always a way out. There's always a solution. And, for the people that don't believe that there is any hope, that's the hardest thing to convince them that there is. Because the sun's going to come out tomorrow. Now, there's no guarantee of that, of course, right? But even through the living hells that I've been through in my life, especially the last 2.5 years, that inspired me to start this podcast, to give people hope and to be the source of what I need in my life, which Neil Donald Walsh talks about in a lot of his books, becoming the source of what you need. If you need hope, give hope. If you need love, give love. If you need money, give money to a proper source, a charity or something like that, right? Become the source of what you need in your life, all right? There's a lot of runway there. There's always a solution there. God has a plan. You have to be patient. You have to be resilient. You've got to be tough. Tough as nails. Gumption, okay? Strong. And spiritually strong, okay? Get in a good church if that's what you need. For me, I've got a strong enough faith now that I've developed even outside the church that I don't necessarily go to a worship service every Sunday anymore because the worship service is in me. And I'm not advocating for people not to go to church. I want you to go to church. I want you to be able to, if that's what you believe, or temple or whatever you're into. But don't let life beat you up. Get in a community of faith that's going to support you. And it's said in Proverbs, in the multitude of counsel there is safety. It's also said in Proverbs that hope deferred, this is what I was getting to earlier, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but desire is the tree of life. Have that desire for better days, okay? The sun is going to come up tomorrow, okay? It's, and even if it doesn't, for whatever reason, You're still alive. You still have something to be thankful for. Find something to be grateful for every single day. There's something to be grateful for. There's always something to be grateful for. The fact that you are breathing means that you have a purpose here on this life. Don't forget that. I'm your best friend forever, Dustin Vaughn Warncke. Pulling into my destination, it was a blast spending a little bit of my 6:30 hour drive to pick up my son and take him to school. God bless you all and have an awesome day out there. You guys all rock.
Thank you for listening to The Empowered Life with Dustin Vaughn Warncke. To learn more about Dustin, please visit his creator hub at dustinsprojects.com. Warncke Enterprises, Dustin's very own digital services company, can be found at businesswithdustin.com, and his books are available at either website or at dustinsbooks.com. Audio presentations of each of Dustin's latest books can be found on YouTube and streamed at no cost. Please subscribe to the Empowered Life podcast on your favorite podcast app, and thank you for your support and sharing this show with a friend.